Hey there, Wicked Title folks. Cheryl here. Every industry has its ghosts. For title agents, they don't wear white sheets or rattle chains. They live in the dead files, the canceled deals that drain our time, money, and sanity. Today's episode is a story about those ghosts. It's fiction, sure, but only just. Because if you've ever watched profits vanish with a canceled file, you know how real these hauntings can feel. Today I bring you the Remembrance Clause. I never used to track my cancellations. They were just part of the job, noise in the system, like an appraisal coming in low or a buyer getting cold feet. It happens. I joke that canceled files are paper ghosts with unfinished business. We even file them in a drawer labeled Cemetery of Dead Deals. The gallows humor helps lighten the disappointment and hurt that comes with every cancellation. It was a tradition my grandfather started back when the company was still new. I suppose Granddad had some unique ideas about how to run a title agency, like when he gave ownership shares to all of our full-time employees. So when I tell you that my staff and I genuinely care about our customers and our bottom line, you understand the truth in that statement. I'm sure you feel the same way. Another of Granddad's theories on how to run a great title agency was to assign a single title clerk to each file. The clerk works closely with those buyers, sellers, and borrowers, holding their hands through every nerve-wracking step of the transaction, from agreement of sale or loan commitment through signing and beyond. I have to say, it works. We get to know them personally. We hear their stories, like the time Kara broke her leg jumping off a tree swing, or how Grandma and Grandpa are buried behind the barn, or how excited the newlyweds are to have a home for the family they're looking to start. Buying or selling a home isn't just a business transaction. It's a life-altering event, and we are the ushers. So when a transaction dies, we feel the loss in our hearts. We feel the loss of the oddly intimate bonds we formed with buyers and sellers. We feel the dashed hopes and renewed fears, and we fight the unshakable feeling that somehow we're the ones that failed when our CPR wasn't enough. When a deal dies, we feel it, and if I'm being honest, we feel it in our wallets too. $125 lien search, a $300 HOA estoppel letter, a $25 tax certification, a $40 software fee, and on it goes. All adding up to hundreds of dollars per file, thousands of dollars per year. Granddad understood this pain and started a little ritual. When a deal dies, we hold a little funeral, say a short goodbye, and send it off to the cemetery drawer. Can I tell you a secret? Some days I wish we shredded them. I think it would be more cathartic. Then we wouldn't need to look at them anymore. We could forget they ever existed. But state law requires us to keep all records for 20 years. And there are those occasional zombie deals that rise from the dead weeks or months later. So we pay our respects and we bury them in the cemetery of dead deals. One night, a few weeks ago, I stayed late working on a file I was desperately trying to close the next day. I was the only one in the office. I'm hesitant to admit it, but I was feeling a bit melancholy. I'd already had 2 deals cancel this month, and it wasn't looking good for this one either. But I swear, when I walked past that drawer, I heard a little whisper. We almost closed. I glanced back, but there was no one in the office, just me, being paranoid. A few minutes later, I passed the drawer again, rummaging through a stack of papers as I walked to the copier. Once again, I heard a whisper. We had funding. You buried us. You forgot us. I dropped my stack of papers and ran from the office. I told myself it was stress, the HVAC, the rustle of old paper. I didn't get much sleep that night. The next day, when I arrived, admittedly a bit late, the files I dropped on the floor were sitting neatly stacked on my desk. Oh, shoot, that was rude, I thought to myself. Hey, Kathy, I shouldn't have left that mess all over the floor. Were you the first one in this morning? Did you clean up my papers? I wanted to apologize. I strive to be a boss who cares just as much as my dad and granddad did. But no one admitted to being the one who cleaned up my mess. In fact, no one even saw the papers on the floor. Later that day, Marjorie asked me to help her with a tech glitch. A canceled refinance showed up twice in her system under 2 different names, both showing a status of pending. And a commitment she'd voided weeks earlier reappeared in her open orders queue, waiting for review like it had never died. I helped her to update the statuses, remove the duplicate file, and recancel everything. 3 cancellations. Marjorie, I asked, do you usually have 3 deals cancel in a single month? Marjorie didn't make eye contact. Instead, she fiddled with a string on her shirt hem. Marjorie, I'm sorry. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm curious. I've had 3 die this month too, and I just got a worrying phone call about a 4th. I'm concerned. Could this be a trend? A bigger problem than just my spate of bad luck? I know I don't have as much experience as you, or... I fought back tears. Or my dad. Is this normal? It happens sometimes, she said hastily, still not looking up at me. Thanks for your help. I really need to get prepped for my closing this afternoon. I took that as my cue to leave, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling me. Was I a bad boss? I was trying so hard to fill Dad's shoes, but maybe I was failing. The next day, I was clacking away on my keyboard, typing up a legal description for a commitment, when I heard a strange noise. I stilled my fingers and listened. Yep, there it was again. It sounded like someone was crying. I stepped into our storage room and found Kathy standing in front of the cemetery filing cabinet. Her curly white hair looked a bit more unruly than usual. She was quietly crying over a file. She must have heard me enter, because as she turned toward me with mascara running down her cheeks, I saw, to my horror, that she was clutching not 1, not 2, but 10 dead files. Bits of dog-eared paper peeked out here and there. Coffee rings stains contrasted sharply. The folders themselves looked like they'd been through a battle zone. With tears still streaming down her face, Kathy cried, I tried so hard, I swear. I went above and beyond for all of them, but I couldn't save a single one. I don't deserve to be here anymore. She hastily shoved the files in the ghost drawer and ran from the room. I hadn't said a word. Perplexed, I went back to my desk and started pulling up reports. What was happening here? Last year, we averaged a 2% cancellation rate throughout the year. There were a few peaks or clusters of cancellations that could make for a concerning week. But across the year, it averaged out to nothing major. It's what I expected I'd find. While my grandfather was a great salesman, it was my dad who really had a mind for business. He worked hard to grow what Granddad started into a well-oiled machine, stuffed inside a friendly as a teddy bear exterior that had attracted so much business. Mike popped his head around my door jamb. Lisa's here. She says you have a closing? Right, I replied, closing the report from last December and grabbing a file from the stack on my desk. Later that night, I ran more reports, backlit by my second monitor, coffee gone cold at my elbow. Then I pulled up the reports for this year. The first quarter looked good. We were still averaging a 2% cancellation rate. I crunched some numbers. Courier fees, HOA estoppels, lien searches, software charges that ticked like a metronome. $40 here, $75 there, whether the deal lived or died. I totaled them. Hundreds per file, thousands per quarter, even at a measly 2% cancellation rate. And nothing coming back. The bleed was quiet, but constant. I could hear Dad's voice in my head. "It's the cost of doing business," he would have said. I swallowed hard. I wish he was here. The reports for Q2 took a darker turn. That's when we lost him. It was so sudden. One day he was here, his booming laugh rolling down the hall from the settlement room. The next, an urgent call from Mom about a heart attack. In April and May, our cancellation rate ticked up to 4%. Ouch. But it was a rough couple of months for us all. Grieving and adjusting to life in the office without him as our leader. Some fallout was to be expected. But in June, just as we were hitting the pinnacle of the summer sales market, our cancellation rate jumped to 6%. How did I not know? I thought back on June. We were so busy. I was working till 8 p.m. most nights, and so were most of the staff. How much of that work was wasted? How many late nights away from family that we can never get back? And for what? I took a deep breath and steadied myself, pushing Dad out of my thoughts and trying to channel some positivity. I'm sure the numbers for July were just fine, I told myself. I clicked the button. It was a busy summer. Our order volume for July was up 10% over June and 15% over the previous July. Good. See? Then my heart sank. Our cancellation rate had also jumped to 9%. I must not have noticed because we had so much order volume. The money was flowing through the accounts, the closing schedule was packed. Everything was starting to feel okay in July. How did I miss this? Was it burnout? Too many 12-hour days? Too much caffeine? I shook my head. Dad taught me better. So I ran more reports and compiled a spreadsheet, looking for a pattern, a cause. Did we have a rogue referral partner who was killing deals left and right? Had the interest rates spiked and priced buyers out of their mortgages before they'd locked in their rates? Did I, how could I even entertain this thought? Did I have a rogue title clerk with a bad attitude? But no matter how I sliced and diced those numbers, there was no pattern. I reviewed the list. Canceled before commitments, payoff demands never ordered, unsigned deeds. Deals were canceling within days of the order being placed to hours after closing was supposed to start. The reasons were just as varied and mostly common. Low appraisal, failed inspection, contentious seller who wants to nickel and dime every detail at the settlement table with a buyer who has nothing to lose. And a few more uncommon but not unheard of reasons. Buyer lost their job, buyer took out a huge loan on a car, seller died, realtor and lender both ordered title insurance from different companies. No patterns, no consistency, no one to blame, no solution in sight. It was after hours, the office dark except for the glow of my monitor. I was rereading my morbid list of causes of death when I heard it. A voice, thin and papery, sliding out of the banker's boxes stacked against the wall. "We almost closed." I froze. The whisper came again from another box. "Our dreams were dashed. We were almost there. You buried us." I glanced at the clock. 11 p.m. Jeez, no wonder my eyes were going crossed and I was hearing voices. Spooked, I grabbed my things and called it a night. Obviously, I wasn't going to fix this problem today. The next morning, after I procrastinated as long as possible by chatting my way through the office with anyone who didn't look bleary-eyed or morning murderous, I set a fresh steaming hot cup of coffee on my desk and resigned myself to looking at more reports. I hovered my mouse over the next button. Part of me didn't want to know what August's numbers were. What if it got worse? What if my dad didn't actually believe in me? And on his deathbed, unbeknownst to anyone, he cursed me and our beloved title agency. I shook my head. My dad had trained me well. He believed in me. He loved me. And I was just being paranoid. Like tearing off a Band-Aid, I clicked that button again and pulled up our numbers for August. Order volume had dropped off a bit, as per usual, with the end of summer vacation extravaganza and back to school distractions. But our cancellation rate didn't slump with it. No, it had ticked up to an alarming 12.75%. Good God, what was happening here? Was I really so terrible at leading this company that our customers were abandoning their dream homes just to get away from me? Down the hall, I heard a drawer slam shut. The ominous noise echoed throughout the building, and for a moment, everything went still. Keyboards stopped clacking, the copier stopped whooshing, and voices fell silent. Hand shaking, I clicked the buttons one more time. Sound in the office resumed, muted behind the roar of blood rushing in my ears. It was only September 19th, but our cancellation rate this month had skyrocketed to a terrifying 20%. The room seemed to darken, and I looked up. Marjorie stood in the doorway to my office. She glanced up and down the hall, then came in and closed the door. "Maya, we need to talk," she said. Well, folks, that's where we'll leave it today. What happens next? The part of the story is reserved for our Wicked Title Forum members and for readers of my new book, How I Stopped Bleeding Money, a title agent's guide to minimizing losses from canceled deals. Inside, you'll find the full conclusion to the Remembrance Clause, a ghost story that feels a little too true, plus real-world playbooks, compliance guides, and templates you can use to protect your bottom line from canceled files. Get your copy today in Kindle or print, or join us inside the Wicked Title Forum to hear the rest. Until next time, stay wicked and don't let the ghosts of canceled deals haunt your drawer.